the San Francisco Experience podcast. Independent commentary from a Silicon Valley, California perspective for a global audience, featuring newsmakers, thought leaders, and authors. Memorial Day. What does it mean to me? Henry Haas talks to Jim Herlihy. Monday, May 29th, marks Memorial Day, which is officially the fourth Monday of May. We like to think of it as the unofficial start of summer, marked by barbecues, parades, sunny weather, and decorating soldiers' graves with American flags. Hi, Henry.
Hi.
Tell me, what does Memorial Day mean to you?
Well, to me, it means two things. There's the kind of American ideal that goes both ways, where you're decorating the graves of the fallen soldiers and respecting them for what they did to defend our country and for giving us freedom. And then there's also the more modern meaning, which is the unofficial start to the summer, which is how I would say most people celebrate it, including me quite often.
Do you know anything about the history of Memorial Day?
Yes, I do actually. So I know that the original tradition of honoring soldiers who we lost in combat dates all the way back to ancient Greece, where there would be a mourning celebration for the soldiers who died in battle. And I know that the tradition for the United States really started in 1866 for the Civil War veterans.
Did you know that the Civil War, the Civil War began in April of 1861. It lasted until May of 1865. So it lasted 4 years. The number of casualties in that war, that was the worst war in American history in terms of casualties. Between 650,000 and 800,000 Americans died in that war. Of course, that makes it the most bloody war in American history. So Memorial Day, well, first of all, it was called Decoration Day, right?
Yeah, it was.
And why was it called Decoration Day?
It was called Decoration Day to decorate the graves of these people who died in fighting for their country.
Uh-huh. Now, you're right. Apparently, on May 5th, 1866, that was like the first Decoration Day that took place. Apparently, it was in the town of Waterloo, New York. Waterloo, New York claims to be the first community to honor Civil War veterans. And again, that was exactly 1 year, 1866, May 5th, 1866, when the citizens of Waterloo closed their businesses and lowered their flags to half-staff to honor the war dead from the Civil War. It wasn't until 1966 that that Memorial Day was officially recognized nationwide by President Johnson. Of course, that's the Memorial Day that we celebrate today.
Wow, how interesting.
Yeah. And until World War I, Memorial Day only acknowledged the war dead of the Civil War.
Oh.
But after World War I, it was expanded to include veterans who died in Europe in World War I. And then since World War I, all the other wars that we fought, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, Iraq, Afghanistan, all of those wars, of course, have been included in Memorial Day, where men and women who were killed in those wars are also remembered on Memorial Day today.
And would you include in the memoriam part of the Memorial Day, would you include soldiers who lost their lives not necessarily in a war, but on patrol in another country? Or is that something separate?
You know, I'm not really sure. In this country, we have 2 days to honor and to recognize our soldiers who fought in the war. Memorial Day is unique to America because it began by memorializing the soldiers who were killed in the Civil War. So the Civil War was a war between the North and the South. It was a war in the United States. We weren't fighting some other country. So Memorial Day in that sense is unique. Now, there's another day on which we acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of soldiers and members of the armed services, and that's November 11th. And that's called Veterans Day, where we honor all veterans of all services for their service, both living and dead. So we actually have 2 days to honor our service people. And for instance, in Europe, in France, in England,
There's only one.
there's only one, and that's in November. So, we're unique in that respect by having these 2 days. And again, the history of Memorial Day dates back to the Civil War.
Wow, how interesting.
Yeah. Now tell me, do you do anything special for Memorial Day? Are you going to have a barbecue? Tell me what you did for Memorial Day.
For Memorial Day, I was visiting my grandparents. We spent some time outdoors in nature, and we visited the memorial for all of my great-grandparents. And in terms of the more modern meaning of Memorial Day, I know that starting soon, actually, I believe tomorrow, we're going to be having a barbecue to celebrate the start of the summer and Memorial Day in that regard.
Uh-huh. So Memorial Day for you, like for most Americans, is like the unofficial start to summertime.
Yes, it is.
Uh-huh. And now tell me about the other day in November. Do you know anything about Veterans Day?
So I don't know very much, but I know that it's on November 11th. And as you said, honors all veterans, whether they're alive or dead. But I don't know much more beyond that.
So this is really like the first Memorial Day that you are celebrating and recognizing the contribution of soldiers who died in the war. Does this make the Memorial Day a little more special for you or not?
Yes, it does. In fact, you just stole the words right from my mouth. But it does make it more special and really differentiates itself from another day, because it's not every day that you're honoring all these people. As you said, in the Civil War, so many people lost their lives, and to be able to have a day that celebrates that magnitude of people is a lot more meaningful than an unofficial start to the summer.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, Henry, I want to thank you for joining us today and talking about Memorial Day and what it means to you and how you're celebrating it, and both the solemn side of it and the fun side of it. I hope you'll come back and share more of your thoughts on other subjects as we move forward.
Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure, Henry. And for our listeners, this is our 409th episode. It also marks our third year of operations. The San Francisco Experience is carried on 19 platforms: Apple Podcast, Spotify, Pandora, among others. We have listeners in 65 countries and all 50 states. This has been the San Francisco Experience with your host, Jim Herlihy, coming to you from San Francisco. You can listen to this episode on our new YouTube channel at youtube.com/@TSFEP. Repeat, TSFEP.